All right, welcome. Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Tuesday. Look, we're really back in studio today. I'm at my desk. I'm in my chair. We're ready for an awesome, awesome show. I hope you're buckled up and ready for this. Danny Kanell is going to join me. Obviously, we'll talk a little Lane Kiffin. We'll talk a little New York Giants. The Giants got curb stomped last night by the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk about that with Danny, as well as Lane Kiffin. A couple other things I probably want to get to with Danny. Odell Beckham Jr., man, is talking about the trouble of earning $100 million and all the problems that creates and how $100 million just isn't really $100 million like it used to be. We'll get into that. Obviously, we'll do a little bit of Shedeur. We'll get to Danny's take on that and how I feel like Kevin Stefanski is a victim here. A tight show today because I got some stuff I want to talk about on the Harmony channel. We'll do that with Shamika, Virgil, and Delano. We'll get on the Harmony channel, and this will be around 11:10, 11:15. We'll discuss John Amachuko, the minister. He's been on the show. You know, he's the guy that shows up at school board meetings and talks about the books that they're putting in front of young kids. He has attacked Candace Owens in a sermon that we'll react to, let everybody give their take on that. Candace remains in the crosshairs of a lot of evangelicals and ministers and people associated with TPUSA. We'll give you a reaction to that on the Harmony channel. But we'll start the show talking about Mike Tomlin. We may be a day late on this, but we had some problems yesterday and we had to start late yesterday, and so we're finally getting to it. I think this Mike Tomlin issue is pretty explosive, and it connects to a larger discussion that I want to have, and we'll do that in the A block. Before we do anything, though, I need you guys, particularly those of you listening over Apple, to hit that 5-star rating right now. Please hit that 5-star rating right now. It's the best thing you can do to help me and us grow this channel. The other thing you can do is you can thank our sponsors and do something good for yourself. If you're suffering from those aches and pains and you think, well, it's just, I'm getting old and, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, maybe there is, because those aches and pains are directly connected to inflammation. And Relief Factor is one of the best ways to fight inflammation, which causes those pains that end up compromising your life and end up making you think, man, I just can't do that anymore. I'm too old. Well, yes, you can. You should try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start that's just $20 or $19.95. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement that fights inflammation. It has amazing results for about 70% of the people that try it. 70% of the people that try the 3-week quick start circle back for the full re-up because they're already experiencing the benefits. You've heard me talk about it and how much I've appreciated Relief Factor. You've heard me reference my great friend Jeffrey Steele, the country music songwriting legend. He's 64 years old, bikes 30 miles every morning, even today when it's cold out in Nashville. And he does it, he can do it because of Relief Factor. You guys need is $20. $20. You're going to blow that at a gas station buying lottery tickets. Take that $20 and get yourself the 3-week quick start for Relief Factor and see if it is the right solution, the right help for you to fight those inflammation pains that are compromising your life. There's 2 ways to get Relief Factor. Call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com. Thank you, Relief Factor, for allowing me and us to do this kind of bold show that we're going to do today. All right, I'm going to start by dating myself and perhaps dating some of you. Do you guys remember a song called Rumors? And Luke, Peyton, these guys are in studio here with me. These guys are in their 20s. They have no idea. They've never heard the song Rumors. I would imagine Ren has heard the song Rumors, or maybe I can refresh his memory. Justin, he's probably too young as well, but Rumors started out, the song did, it was by Timex Social Club, some group out of, I think, San Francisco. How do rumors get started? They're started by the jealous people, and they get mad seeing something they had and somebody else is holding. They tell me that temptation is very hard to resist, but these wicked women, oh, they just persist. Maybe you think it's cute, but girl, I'm not impressed. I tell you one time only, with my business, please don't mess. When you look at all these rumors, they're surrounding me every day. I just need some time to get away from all these rumors. I can't take it no more. My best friend said there's one out now about me and the girl next door. Go look it up. It was a great song. I think it came out in like mid-1980s, something like that. And I bring it up because there's a legendary football coach who probably remembers this song, Mike Tomlin, that has overstayed his time in Pittsburgh. And once you overstay as a football coach, when you're coached somewhere for 20 years and you've overstayed and now your team's not winning playoff games since 2016, now no one cares that you haven't had a losing record throughout your entire coaching career. You've overstayed. Big Ben left, and the Steelers winning and being a threat has left, and now the Steelers are 6-6 this season in a year where the Baltimore Ravens lost Lamar Jackson for a time, the Cincinnati Bengals lost Joe Burrow for a time, and you're sitting there in your division, 6-6, tied with the Baltimore Ravens. The best teams in your division have lost their quarterbacks for some time. You go all in on Aaron Rodgers, and it's a flop. And people have had it up to here. And this weekend, you lose a game, and the fans in Pittsburgh, they don't care that you won a Super Bowl your second or third year in the National Football League. They don't care that you went back to the Super Bowl a short time later. They care about what's gone on in the last decade. No playoff victories, a lot of mediocre 9-8, 8-8 football teams. No one cares anymore. And now that people want you out, and now that you're in this protected class, you're a black head coach playing for the Rooneys, whose name is on the Rooney Rule, which gives black coaches a leg up, an unfair advantage in coaching searches. When you're playing for a franchise that was one of the original adopters of identity as over merit, diversity, equity, and inclusion over merit, and your fan base just wants to win Super Bowls. Your fan base just wants to win playoff games. Your fan base wants something new because I think the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, it's been 67 or something, an incredible number of games in a row, 62, 67 games in a row, scoring 7 points or less in the first quarter. And that sounds like an arbitrary stat, but what it means, teams that score in the first quarter, that, consistently, hey, they put up 10, 12, they average 9 points, two scores in the first quarter. That's an indication of like, man, you came in with a superior game plan than your opponent. In all three phases, from offense, this isn't just an offensive stat. It says something about your defense. It says something about your special teams. It says something about your game plan. Can you get off to a quick start and get a quick advantage? You're one of the greatest coaches, allegedly, of all time. And your team consistently gets off to a slow start. This is some sort of record. How many ever straight games it is, 60, 70 games, scoring 7 points or less in the first quarter. People have had it with Mike Tomlin. He's stayed too long. You move on. You've built a great reputation in Pittsburgh. You've won a Super Bowl. You've lost a Super Bowl. Your reputation. After about 15 years, you move on. Mike Tomlin has overstayed his time in Pittsburgh, and that's how rumors get started. And he's being inundated with rumors. No different than, and Bill Cowher didn't stay too long, but he stayed too long. And when Bill Cowher left, there were rumors about Bill Cowher, pervasive over the internet and over talk radio and everywhere, about his personal life. This is how rumors get started. Mike Tomlin right now is being inundated with rumors about his personal life. I've seen this before in Kansas City. Marty Schottenheimer gets to Kansas City, I believe, in 1990, maybe, 1989. He and Carl Peterson come. Carl Peterson hires him. And Marty Schottenheimer leaves Cleveland, comes to Kansas City, and is a super successful coach in Kansas City for about a decade. But he cannot make it to the Super Bowl. And I got to Kansas City in 1994. That was the last year of Joe Montana in the NFL and as the Chiefs quarterback. Joe Montana got there in 1993. I got there in 1994. People, Montana era, oh, they're going to win a Super Bowl. They brought in Joe Montana. This is the peak of the Marty Schottenheimer era in Kansas City. It doesn't happen with Joe Montana. And then they give Marty about 4 or 5 more years, or was it 3 or 4 more years? If Joe leaves in 94, Marty got fired in 1998. Is that 5 years, I think? He got 5 more seasons. By 1998, and they had built a team in 1998, they signed Chester McGlockton. They had this, what I called a dream team defense. Derek Thomas, Chester McGlockton, all these, I think James Hasty was still there. Dale Carter, I believe, was still there. And everybody, including me, I was running around in 1998 because the Chiefs in 97 went 13-3. And now they've added to their defense. And I'm like, hey, the Chiefs are going 16-0. They just went 13-3, and now they've built this incredible defense. They signed Chester McGlockton. And it's going to put them over the top. And their defense, no one's going to score on the Chiefs' defense. It's going to be incredible. Chiefs lost their first game of the season. It ended up embarrassing themselves on Monday Night Football. The Monday night meltdown against the Denver Broncos, where Shannon Sharpe baited Derek Thomas into getting thrown out of the game. And here's what I can tell you about once this 98 season started out in embarrassing fashion, and it looks like, holy cow, and I think they ended up going 7-9 that year, or 8-8, 7-9, I believe, that year. And once that thing hit the iceberg, rumors about Marty Schottenheimer were everywhere. Everywhere. There was a bartender that worked at the bar across the street from my house, Tanner's South. Anybody in Kansas City remembers this? And there were rumors that Marty Schottenheimer had impregnated the bartender at Tanner's South. I knew the young lady. I knew her friends. This was the conversation all over Kansas City. How do rumors get started? They're started by disappointed football fans. The insinuations about Marty Schottenheimer, I believe, happened to be true. Again, I knew the young lady. I knew her best friends even better. We talked. There was legitimacy, according to them, to these rumors. But Marty Schottenheimer had to step away and resign. When a coach can't get his team to the Super Bowl, when the expectations from the fan base are high every year because you have this great coach and you believe you have this team and you just signed Aaron Rodgers and you traded for Jalen Ramsey and you gave T.J. Watt a huge contract and you got Cam Ward, who's a Hall of Famer. When those expectations reach that high and it's year after year after year, and you don't meet those expectations, that's how rumors get started. And again, I saw this at the end of Bill Cowher in Pittsburgh. Rumors about his personal life. Same thing is happening with Mike Tomlin. There's a pattern here. Mike Tomlin has stayed too long. The Pittsburgh Steelers have allowed him to stay too long. This is what happens. The other element in this is, and I talked about this yesterday briefly, but Mike Tomlin is one of these anointed black sports figures that the black social media, black sports media, and white guilt media have protected and have put a moat around them. And anybody that crosses that moat and tries to criticize Mike Tomlin or Deion Sanders or Lamar Jackson or where's my full list here? I want to make sure I don't leave anybody out. Did I? What? Oh, yeah, here we go. Shedeur Sanders, Deion Sanders, Colin Kaepernick, Eric Bieniemy, Raheem Morris, Tyrone Willingham, Hugh Jackson, Michael Vick, Barack Obama. These protected people by the black media, social media, and white guilt media. This stuff never ends well. And you can sit there and say, well, Lamar Jackson's won 2 MVPs. Lamar Jackson's about to run into the exact same thing I'm talking about here. These elevated expectations, they're going to deliver a Super Bowl, and then they never do. And then the next thing you know, Lamar Jackson starts getting dinged up and injured, and he can't run like he used to. And the next thing you know, you're 8 years into his career, and people are like, well, the running quarterback thing was nice. Lamar was very exciting. He won 2 MVPs. And man, this was great. But what did it end up winning? And the white guilt media, the black media, black social media will point a finger here, there. It's everybody else's fault. They just didn't have this. It's John Harbaugh. Now, I know John Harbaugh won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco, but he just didn't know how to take full advantage of Lamar Jackson. It's all the excuses. And at some point, the fan base doesn't care about the excuses. They just want change. And so here's how I know things are changing around Mike Tomlin. One of my first biggest indicators is, and I don't say this to disparage this person, but he is someone that's like a bellwether. You can tell, they call it a bell cow. You can tell when they start turning on you, they've been given information that, yep, it's time to turn on Mike Tomlin or this person. And it's Colin Cowherd. I don't say this to disparage Colin Cowherd. I'm just telling you, he's an indicator. He doesn't turn on people for the most part. And I'm not Baker Mayfield. Colin Cowherd is a brilliant sports broadcaster. And so I'm not disparaging him. But it's now safe because Colin Cowherd never wants to get crossways with black media, black social media, the white guilt crowd. And so you got to handle Mike Tomlin with kid gloves. Well, now the kid gloves are off. I want to play for you Colin Cowherd. I believe this is from yesterday, talking about Mike Tomlin. SOT 1.
I'm going to throw something at you that I think is an arbitrary number, that everybody in sports sees it as a number having value, and I see it as an arbitrary number that doesn't really mean anything. So Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have not had a losing season in 21 seasons. Whew. But there's a story this morning. Is the hot seat heating up? Well, he hasn't won a playoff game in 8 years. He would be fired if he was the Eagles coach or the Cowboys coach. He would be fired if he was, the New England coach, the San Francisco coach, the Green Bay coach. Green Bay, you got to win playoff games. He'd be fired if he was the Ravens coach. But in Pittsburgh, it's old school. And they take pride in stuff like we have not had a losing season in 21 years. You know who has the longest streak in the NBA of not having a losing season? I want you to think about this. Give it 10 seconds. What NBA franchise has the longest streak of non-losing seasons? The Clippers, 14. In their own city, the Lakers make fun of the Clippers. But this whole arbitrary number, I would rather have the Steelers bottom out this year, and if Dante Moore's available, go grab him. I mean, that to me, go get a legitimate franchise quarterback for 15 years, 12 of it in his prime. So, but this whole Tomlin thing, Belichick and Andy Reid got let go. It's nothing against Mike, but this arbitrary 21 years without a losing record, it means nothing.
That's Colin Cowherd. When he starts turning on you, someone this high profile, someone this dangerous to criticize, because Colin Cowherd wants no parts of Black Twitter, none. I'm not calling him a coward. I'm saying he's smart. He's strategic. He's a white guy that knows that Black Twitter would love to go after Colin Cowherd. Well, someone, perhaps Terry Bradshaw, who knows, has told him, like, Tomlin's time is up. All systems go. And trust me, Terry Bradshaw has been out here for years calling out Mike Tomlin. Been a solid decade. Terry Bradshaw has been giving off bat signals that, you know, Tomlin isn't what he's all cracked up to be. And so, to me, I'm speculating here. I'm speculating. I want to be fair, and I want everybody to understand what I'm doing here. I'm not on rock solid ground. But my read is like, yeah, Terry Bradshaw probably feels confident. There's enough pressure on Mike Tomlin. Everybody's had it with Mike Tomlin. This whole Aaron Rodgers thing isn't working. You got Aaron Rodgers on camera complaining about, hey, guys aren't showing up for meetings. What's been the knock on Tomlin for years? That he holds almost no one accountable for anything. Everybody gets to do whatever they want to do. I like Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell. I do. And I know Antonio Brown's in a lot of trouble, but having met Antonio Brown, I understand his demons. I understand that he's trying to do the best that he can. You know, I don't want to make a bunch of excuses for AB. AB's gotten himself into trouble, but I like AB. I like Le'Veon Bell. They like Mike Tomlin. That's not a good sign because, trust me, I used to be a major headache at Ball State University in the mid-1980s. And the coaches didn't like me, and I didn't like the coaches because the coaches tried to hold me accountable, and I didn't want to be held accountable. And so when I hear, and I'm telling you, I like Le'Veon, I like Antonio Brown. I used to be a headache just like they were as players. But when they start talking, hey, I like Mike Tomlin, it would be like me saying, man, I really like Paul Shedeur. If I were saying that in the 1980s, you'd be like, man, Paul Shedeur must let Whitlock come in drunk after practice. Paul Shedeur must let Whitlock do whatever he wants because that's the kind of idiot that I was back then. Let me give you another indicator, and I mean no disparagement here, obviously, because I really like James Harrison. But James Harrison is one of the all-time great Pittsburgh Steelers players. James Harrison, I think, still lives in the Pittsburgh area. James Harrison still wants a good relationship with the Pittsburgh Steelers overall. James Harrison's pretty bold and pretty outspoken. But when you start talking this kind of salty about the 20-plus year head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers who is headed to the Hall of Fame, it's an indicator that James Harrison thinks Mike Tomlin's support is weak, and perhaps these rumors that are circulating about Mike Tomlin are connected to this is how you get rid of a coach that has had success, Marty Schottenheimer, Bill Cowher, but you want to get rid of them because it's time for them to go. The rumors start circulating. That's how rumors get started. Anyway, here's James Harrison lighting into the coaching staff and Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. Play the clip.
great coach gets you to play beyond your potential. My potential for me as an undrafted free agent was a special teams player for life. But Keith Butler was my linebacker coach, and he got me to play beyond my potential. He was a great coach. Dick LeBeau was a great defensive coordinator. He got our defensive players to play beyond their potential. And right now, we can't even play to it. So you tell me where there's a good coach on this staff, because right now, I don't see anybody playing to their potential. Mike Tomlin is in control of hiring coaches, okay? And he may not be the one coaching the position, but he is in position to hire the coaches to get the potential out of our players. And right now, he has not put coaches in the position that can get the potential out of what it is that we have. Because I know what TJ Watt can do. I know what Cam Hayward can do. I've seen what Alex Highsmith can do, brother. I've seen Jalen Ramsey, Patrick McQueen. I can go on and on, but I'm not seeing it. Why? Right now, we have a lot of players that are not fit for the scheme that we run. The interior defensive linemen have to hold up to the run because we're supposed to be a 3-4 defense, bro, which means the linebackers are there to make the plays, but they can't make the plays if the D-line is in their lap half the time, okay? Something has to be done, bro. And I know the Steelers historically don't move on from coaches. But I think it's time that history be made, because right now, the only history we're making is being the worst Pittsburgh Steelers team statistically almost in the history of the organization.
That's James Harrison going directly at Mike Tomlin. If Mike Tomlin was in good standing, this would not be happening. If it was unfathomable, and I've heard people on ESPN, I've heard Adam Schefter, I've heard Rex Ryan, I've heard Adam Schefter say, no way Mike Tomlin gets fired. I heard Rex Ryan say, if Mike Tomlin gets fired, there'll be teams snapping him up in 2 seconds. Really? Are we sure? And I get DEI, and I get how, these white guilt owners and everybody want to make sure they check the box for the Rooney Rule. But I've watched this league move on from Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, 6 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots, 2 as a defensive coordinator with the New York Giants, considered the greatest coach in NFL and perhaps in football history. And the whole NFL said, nah, I'm good. Go off to college. We don't want you anymore, Bill. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen to Tomlin. I understand that he gets to benefit from his dark skin and the whole National Football League bending over to DEI. But that's how rumors get started. That's how the personal attacks and speculation about your personal life gets started. It provides you cover to move on. Yeah, I know this guy's been a successful coach, but have you heard these rumors? They're not all started by jealous people. Sometimes they're started by people like, hey, man, I got no other choice. How do I get out from underneath this? Well, I got to air this person out. And I got to let these rumors run rampant because this person has overstayed. Perhaps the Pittsburgh Steelers for the last 2 or 3 years have expected and or wanted Mike Tomlin to say, you know what? I'm like Andy Reid. I'm so confident in my ability as a head coach. I'm going to leave Philadelphia, go to Kansas City, where they haven't won a Super Bowl since 1970, Super Bowl III, I believe. haven't peed a drop, and I'm going to go to Kansas City. I'm so good at manipulating these quarterbacks that I'll go to Kansas City and we will have Alex Smith, and I'll turn him into a Pro Bowler. And we'll draft a kid from Texas Tech who no one really thinks of. They think of him as unpolished and raw, and yeah, he's got a live arm, but he wasn't the number 1 overall pick. He wasn't a can't-miss prospect. Andy Reid's so confident in his ability. Alex Smith, and we'll draft a kid, and I'll make them into something that looks like Donovan McNabb or better than Donovan McNabb. I've done it for every quarterback that's come through Philadelphia. That's how confident I am in my ability as a head coach and as a quarterback whisperer. What would Mike Tomlin say to himself and to other franchises? Hey, when I show up, you're going to play this style of defense and it's going to produce these results. That's not Tomlin's reputation. Dick LeBeau had that reputation in Pittsburgh. Is Mike Tomlin going to show up and say, hey, your special teams, we're going to have the best special teams in the league? That's not Mike Tomlin's reputation. That's John Harbaugh's reputation. Is Mike Tomlin going to show up, hey, man, I'm bringing the West Coast offense, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that on offense? That's not Mike Tomlin's reputation. That's John Gruden. That's any of these offensive good. That's Bill Walsh. That's Dick Vermeil. That's not Tomlin. Tomlin's reputation is, I'm a leader of men. Guys want to play for me. I'm a player's coach. Well, so what? The coaches that consistently win at the highest level, they bring something special to one side of the 3 sides of football: offense, defense, and special teams. Bill Belichick, I'm going to put the best defense in the league out there. Sean McVay right now, I'm going to, whatever quarterback you bring me, we're going to score points, whether it's Jared Goff, whether it's Matt Stafford, I'm going to get the best out of Matt Stafford, blah, blah, blah. These are the guys. Andy Reid, obviously, I've already talked about. Tomlin doesn't have that. That's how rumors get started. And when you bubble wrap, and you bubble wrap these black icons, these black sports icons, and you don't allow any criticism of them. You don't let them go through what Bryce Young just went through in Carolina. He got benched for 5 games last year, his sophomore season. He's come back better than ever. He looks like a playoff quarterback. He looks like the real deal. We don't allow, for whatever reason, this person, Shedeur Sanders, really seems to irritate white people. Let's bubble wrap him and protect him from all criticism. Dillion, he really knows how to troll white people. Let's bubble wrap him and make sure nobody criticizes him. And if they do criticize him, they're either racist, sellouts, or coon. We destroy our best and brightest by putting them in bubble wrap. This is how you cripple leaders, and we've done it. Men have to go stand in the middle of the street and fight it out. That's what men have to do if they want to be great leaders and they want to be super successful. You put them in bubble wrap, this is what you get. You get someone that maybe started out great and then starts backpedaling. And the next thing you know, they're sitting at 6-6 when everybody else in their division has serious quarterback problems. And your fan base, and this is the last thing that we'll do, we'll get to Danny Kanell. Danny, I'm sorry for being 5 minutes late here. I had to get this off my chest. But let's play the VO number 3. This is Pittsburgh Steelers fans chanting, hey, fire our coach that won a Super Bowl and led us to another Super Bowl, but hasn't peed a drop in 15 years. Play the clip. When people want a coach fired, they start rumors. They spread rumors. Who knows if the rumors are true? Seen this a million times before. All right, let me get to Danny Kanell. Before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor, Kindred Harvest Teas. You need to know what's in your tea. The Chinese tea industry has flooded America with products contaminated by microplastics and heavy metals. They don't care about your health, they care about your wallet. Kindred Harvest is the American answer. Third-party lab tested, zero microplastics, zero heavy metals, blended and packed right here in the USA with 100% biodegradable heat-sealed sockets. No glue, no ink, no compromises, morning energy or evening herbal. It's clean tea for your entire family. Stop trusting China with your family's health. Choose American quality. Choose Kindred Harvest, cultivating goodness daily. Go to kindredharvest.co. That's kindredharvest.co. That is not .com, that is .co. Use the promo code FEARLESS for 20% off. That's kindredharvest.co. Use the promo code FEARLESS for 20% off. Thank you, Tiffany, for making me a cup today. When we come back, Danny Kanell will talk some college football. Next.
And what Pat McAfee wants, Pat McAfee gets. And I like it. So have things changed in many ways? Yes. I mean, I don't want to give them too much credit because deep down, you're still led by Bob Iger at the top, and that's a trickle-down effect everywhere. But I do hope that Jimmy Pitaro and everyone else are finally paying attention to actually the demographics and the numbers of people who watch college football, for instance, which probably lean right, if not even further, but definitely they're more conservative of a fan base, college football. So are they actually doing their homework and finally doing the right thing? I don't think all of a sudden that's happening. I think it's because it's Pat McAfee. And hi guys, it's Veterans Day. Like, give me a break. It is the commander-in-chief. It only makes sense. So do I expect them to all of a sudden start to truly support women's sports and do all those other basic things? No. But for this one day, it was the right thing, obviously. But I don't want to go too far and say that they've changed.
All right, welcome back. Danny Kanell. Let's bring on Danny Kanell. And Danny, I'm going to first start you, and I'm sorry for being late here, but I want to first start you with my discussion here about Mike Tomlin and just how everybody now seems ready to move on from Mike.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with him. You know, I mean, I think there's a time when things get stale. I think it was Marty Schottenheimer who had a belief that 10 years was about the time that you expired. Like your message stopped resonating, you know, your fan base got a little bit complacent or they got spoiled, one or the other, and just felt like 10 years was a time to move on. I do think there's some truth to that. Mike Tomlin's been there a long time. He's done really well, but I do think I would endorse a change for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm someone that no longer thinks Mike Tomlin is a instant hire come the offseason for another team. I think 3 years ago, yes. Now I think people think long and hard and just wonder, has he really gone past his expiration date?
Oh, I think he would be a hire as soon as he hit the open market for a few reasons. I mean, one, he's got a Super Bowl trophy under him. What's that?
Give the reasons. So I can pick him apart.
One, he's got a Super Bowl. He's a Super Bowl champion. One, his win-loss record. And then three, and maybe this is one of the most important ones, why he would get hired. It is because he's a black head coach. Like, there aren't that many candidates out there. And I do think that would make him very attractive to a lot of owners. I think that's just the reality of the situation. So I think you get all those three things combined, and there's not a lot of great coaches with long track records that are available that long. You know, so I think Mike Tomlin would be snatched up fairly quickly on the open market.
I love the way you stated that, because even though you didn't say say it first, you did say it might be the most important reason is because he's black. And I do think that would be his calling card. Hire me, I'm black. His winning percentage and all that, anybody that in the NFL, anybody at the ownership level, executive level knows, like, hey man, the Steelers have an organization and a system built that it's virtually hard for any coach to lose there. And then his Super Bowl is from so long ago that I discount that. But if you want a diversity hire that keeps the critics at bay and you can say, hey, I hired a black coach, yeah, go ahead and hire Mike Tomlin. But I just don't know if I'm an NFL owner, and obviously I'm black and I'm crazy and just I'm always going to do what I think is right. I'm looking for my Dave Canales. That's who I need to find an assistant coach who has head coaching capabilities more than I need someone with experience and try to hit the lottery that way, as opposed to, finding someone with head coaching experience. And I think this isn't 2020 anymore. And so if the guy leaves in 2020, yes, he gets to ride the George Floyd wave to, being the number one candidate for every NFL team. I don't think, there's probably 2 or 3 teams that he might be at the top of their list, maybe. But I think he's a lot less valuable now than he was 3 years ago. You agree with that?
Yeah, I don't know if he would be able to command the amount of jobs that he would 3 years ago. But so here's the thing that I think Mike Tomlin could easily present as a resume, right? It's not just that he's black. And that's why I think he would be snatched up, because it fits a lot of, checks a lot of boxes. I mean, he's made the playoff 4 out of the last 6 years. And I think what's maybe probably more impressive that he's done it with not the best quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers on the tail end of his career when he's been hurt. Russell Wilson was a disaster. I mean, everything since post-Ben has been a little bit of a disaster. They missed on Kenny Pickett. They have not exactly had a great list of quarterbacks, and yet he's still been able to win. I think he would be viewed like Mike Vrabel. Now Mike Vrabel had to wait a year. He was out for a year. But I think he would be viewed very similarly. Vrabel did not win a Super Bowl, but he was somebody who always had success, was a consistent winner. And he was somebody who I thought was going to be the best hire this past offseason. I think he's a great football coach, but he did have to wait a year. He sat out and waited. And that could be something that Tomlin would do too, would be like, if there's a job that opens, he might say, no, I don't want that one. I want to wait for a really good one that's another organization like mine. I mean, Vrabel would definitely say that, coming from the Titans, which are totally dysfunctional, and he experienced that. The only thing I would push back on you too, there really is no formula for it's similar to first round picks and quarterback. Like, you can try to think, I want to find a guy that started 3 years, or I want to find a guy that's at least 6'4", or I want to find a guy that won. You could miss out on a lot of guys, and the same time, you could take a guy who looks like he has the perfect resume and it's a complete flop. And we've seen that in coaching just as well. I mean, this coaching carousel has been wild, and it's the same issue. Like, you could try to go find a coordinator, maybe it works. You could try to find somebody that looks like he has a great resume, maybe it works, but you really don't know.
What you want to do, in my view, is find a coach who brings you a strategic advantage, or you believe they bring a strategic advantage. So the Chicago Bears, after stubbing their toe, was like, hey, man, this Ben Johnson seems to bring an offensive strategic advantage. And that's exactly what he brought to the Bears. They're winning games and scoring points, even though they're not getting great quarterback play. It's when the Chiefs got Andy Reid, the Chiefs, again, having covered that team for 16 years, lived there, like, man, we can't get the quarterback position right. Ever since Lynn Dawson, we've been looking for a quarterback solution. I got a coach that can make sure we fix that problem, and they finally did it, because that's what Andy's track record has proven. I think Zach Taylor with the Bengals, if Joe Burrow ever was able to stay healthy for 2 or 3 years, I think he would prove to be one of those guys that, hey, we brought here this is my problem with Tomlin. I don't know what strategic advantage he brings to the table.
So I would say his selling point would be culture builder. And that, I think, is a big priority. I think that's why Dan Campbell has done such a good job in Detroit. He's been a culture builder. And I think Ben Johnson brought the best of both worlds because he did have an offensive background when he went to Chicago, but he also experienced that physical, tough culture that Dan Campbell cultivated in Detroit. So I think a lot of this, too, you mentioned a lot of those coaches that you just rattled off. You know, like Zach Taylor, are we sure he's having the same success if he's working with Kenny Pickett? You know, or even, and I love Andy Reid. I think he is a phenomenal coach. And maybe one of his best decisions ever was to move on from Alex Smith, who I was like, man, he is gambling his whole career on a young quarterback who we really didn't see that much. And when he went to Patrick Mahomes, like, are we sure he's having as much success without him? I think a lot of it is about finding the quarterback. And again, I'll say that about Vrabel, who I think is a great coach. But is he having this much success if he's got J.J. McCarthy as his quarterback?
No, but where I think Vrabel is a culture builder.
Agreed.
I think there was a way the Tennessee Titans played that I said, oh man, that's a reflection of Mike Vrabel's mentality, approach, blah, blah, blah. And he just never had the right quarterback from Tannehill.
And he won with Ryan Tannehill, who was average. Like, he was able to win with an average quarterback.
Yes. And so here, you know, Andy Reid, go look at his quarterbacks in Philadelphia. They all played really well. And Alex Smith had him looking like a Pro Bowler. Everywhere Andy Reid goes, I could play quarterback for Danny. I'll even go a step further. You could play quarterback for Andy Reid. And so, anyway, I'll end it with this, or transition us with this. Would you want Mike Tomlin to be the coach of your New York Giants?
No, I'd probably want somebody fresher, younger, more innovative.
There you go. Now you just answered my question. Thank you. Yeah, after 20 minutes of defending Mike Tomlin, the truth finally comes out. Danny wants no parts of Mike Tomlin with the Giants. There are a couple other Giants questions I wanted from last night. They got the brakes beat off of them by the New England Patriots. What do you think's going on with Abdul Carter? There's rumors that he's been benched for watching porn during a meeting. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yep.
I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't like Abdul Carter from draft night. The outfit he wore on draft night, I'm a weird dude, but it's the outfit he wore on draft night. I was like, nah, I'm not drafting that. I'm not high on this, whatever it was he was wearing, this robe or anything. Anyway, what do you think is going on with Abdul Carter?
I'm going to listen to his teammates. Multiple of his teammates have called him out, said he's immature, he needs to grow up. You know, clearly this is somebody you always find out, and this is the hardest thing to determine in the NFL draft process. Do you play football because you love the game and you want to win, or do you play football because of what the game brings to you? And to the outfit, to the necklace, I saw him decked out in a bunch of brand labels, you know, Gucci, Prada, whatever you want to go. And I like brands too. But there's always something where you're like, oh, he's really enjoying spending this money. And so I feel like he's got a taste of it and he's enjoying having millions of dollars in the bank. And a lot of these kids do have millions in college, but I think you're enjoying, you feel like you've made it when you get to the NFL. But that is the farthest thing from the truth. You've got to prove it. You've got to earn it. And I don't think he's earned anything. And he's finding out the really hard way that if you don't start earning it quick, you're going to get that bust label and you might find yourself looking for a job in another year or two. You know, they're not going to move on from him this early. You know, and it was interesting. I thought the porn, and I thought it was interesting because it said without headphones, as if it was okay with if he had headphones on. Like like that was the issue that they found out. I was like, well, how about just watching porn? That does happen. I've seen that in the strength room. I was working out with a guy on the Giants, former teammate, and he was in on the computer at the time, and he had porn pulled up, and he was watching it, laughing. You know, hey, come here, check this out. I don't think it's that unusual to see that happen. This was 20. Now think about how easy it is to get on your phone and show somebody or your iPad. So I don't think that's that unusual, as sad as that may be. I think that was a reason to discipline him. Also, when he's sleeping through meetings, and his excuse was he was getting red light therapy and he fell asleep. I mean, you can just see right through it that he has an absolute headache for the Giants right now, and they're trying to figure out how to get him to wake up and grow up. And sometimes you figure it out, and sometimes it's too late.
I did not realize that. I guess it makes sense. I mean, I'm older, and so, we didn't have cell phones and all that in the locker room. We couldn't get
But this
on the
was
internet.
before cell phones. This was old school desktop, but there was internet.
Wow.
You could pull that up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Listen, front seven defensive players, they're not fashionistas. If you play corner and you want to be a fashionista and dress up and make sure you got all, but I just don't think I don't think Harry Carson and Lawrence Taylor were playing dress up. And they had the money, but they were thinking about how can I hurt somebody? And this guy's thinking about, and I know that these guys didn't play in an era where there was a runway where ESPN filmed you walking into stadiums and all that other stuff. But guy wants Lawrence Taylor's number, but wants to dress like Deion Sanders. He should have asked for 21. That would have been better than asking for 56. The other thing interesting from last night, what do you think? Is it Younghoe Koo?
Yep.
Did I get that right? Younghoe Koo? Younghoe? Younghoe. Yeah. Younghoe Koo. They spell it Ho in China or wherever he's from. I think he may have the same translator as Shohei Ohtani with that kick last night.
I was a holder for a long time in my career because that's what the backup quarterback oftentimes hold. And you hold in practice, you hold pregame, you hold game-winning kicks potentially. I have never, ever seen this happen. It's the most perplexing thing ever. I don't know if it was a mental block or if it's some psychological deal that he just couldn't go through the ball, because it is a lot like a golf swing. You'll even hear kickers reference a golf swing. And I'm a good golfer, but every once in a while I'll chunk one, but the club will still come through. You'll make a divvy, you'll go through. And there was a game in college football. I saw a kicker actually make a field goal where he left a little divot. It wasn't it was like an easier kick, and he left a little divot. He kind of kicked the dirt first. But I have never, ever seen that. And the best part about it? They actually wondered about this. I actually looked in the box score. Do you know that does not count as a miss? He was 0 for 0 last night. Yep. Yeah,
the sack because he never kicked the ball. I'm going to play the other side. I was cracking the joke about Shohei Ohtani and the gambling aspect. Ooh. I don't know if you've seen all the different angles and the slow-mo replays. The holder initially mishandled the ball, and the ball was moving. And I could see, now eventually, and this all happens bang, 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 bang. But eventually he got control of the football, the holder did. But Younghoe, after the game, is saying, like, no, the ball was moving, and he's not lying. And so I could see it in his head, like, hey, the ball just moved, and he had a thought, what should I do? And then he tried to half kick it after thinking. His explanation actually makes sense. There are angles that will show you the ball moving in a way that would give a kicker pause, and then he got caught in no man's land and didn't follow through.
That would be a great explanation. Oftentimes, though, the ball, like the kicker almost can't, you can't have that much. You don't have that much time. I think it's 1.6. They try to get it off in, so you just got to swing through it. And a lot of times, you as a holder, you are spinning the football. Like sometimes there's a bad snap.
That's not what it was.
Right. So it was moving while he was there because I didn't think he needed to spin it. The laces looked out.
I'm just telling you, the ball moved in a sideways and down direction for a slight moment that would give the kicker pause. And in his head, he had that pause, and then he didn't know what to do, and then he tried to swing through, but it just threw off his time. The guy actually has a legitimate explanation. And last night when I watched it live, I was like, this is the craziest thing in the world. This guy needs to be investigated. And then this morning I saw a slow-mo replay, and I said, oh, I get it. His explanation does make sense. So let me, with this little bit of time I have left, I got to get your thoughts. I thought I'd get here sooner, but Lane Kiffin's exit. That's all I'm going to say. What is your take on Lane Kiffin's exit?
I think it is part of the crazy world that we live in. I think it's been interesting, the reaction. Of course, Ole Miss fans are going to be upset, but there's been a piling on from the national media of what a bad guy Lane Kiffin is. I think he did what most of us would do. And I think the money was the same, but I think he left for a better job at LSU that will allow him to have more resources, better access to players. And I think the only thing, and I totally understand Ole Miss's side. Like, I would not have let him coach either, because he's going to be recruiting your players, your staff, potential high school recruits that you're competing for together. He would have been recruiting those away from your own team. So I get that aspect. The only way everyone's happy is if Lane Kiffin stays. Like, that's the only way that not everybody's up in arms, is if he's tried to stay at Ole Miss.
Well, he could have just left and could have got up on a press conference and say, hey, look, I'm leaving. I understand why Ole Miss wants me to leave immediately. I'm going to a team within their conference. I work at Coke, and I'm going to work for Pepsi. Coke wants me out of the building. I get it. Instead, he played the victim, and, oh, these kids deserve me to coach, and we got to figure out a way for me to coach here the next month. It's an unreasonable, silly expectation for a grown man who's now 50. And then I want to challenge you, Danny, on terms of, hey, I think anybody would have done this. And you're mostly right. But Lane, over the last year or two, has leaned into a faith walk and talked about it publicly. So we're not held to the same standard as everybody. And so we can't do what everybody else is doing. Don't claim the cross, don't claim Christianity if you just want to do what everybody else is doing. You're making $7, $8, $9 million a year. Ole Miss is willing to pay you $10, $12 million a year. There's nothing wrong with Ole Miss. That campus is beautiful. You're having success there. Everybody, well, I can get more money and it'll be easier. Well, and I'm holding to the standards that he has accepted. He's claimed the cross. The Christian walk is not the easy path. It's the narrow path. He could have chosen the narrow path.
I disagree. I don't think this makes him, he said he prayed about it. I mean, he said he prayed about the decision. I don't think he knew. My take all along, and I think the last time we talked about it, I don't think he knew until at minimum a week before, and I think it could have gone all the way up till 3 days before the Egg Bowl, before he finally told everybody. I genuinely think he was not sure what he wanted to do. And I'll believe him when he said he was praying about it. He was seeking wise counsel. Like, he kind of took a biblical approach. Nick Saban told him to go to LSU. Pete Carroll told him to go to LSU. Like, anybody who knows the sport's familiar of it told him to go to LSU. Now, if he would have known the minute he would have known, then yeah, I think that would have been the right thing to do. And said, you know what, I'm leaving. You can either keep me through the Egg Bowl, keep me through the playoffs, but I'm going to go take this job. I don't think this makes him a bad person. I don't think it makes him, less of a Christian. I just think it's a decision that was a life-altering decision that he really wanted to give careful thought and consideration to. I do think he wanted the best of both worlds, because I do think he wanted to try to finish the season at Ole Miss and then go to LSU after. And to Ole Miss's credit, they said, no, sorry, we can't take you.
Danny, I love you, but I'm about to push back really hard.
Okay.
So, and here's what happened.
But this isn't like a bad marriage that you don't get divorced, like obey the commandments of the Bible. This is a football coach, right? I mean, he's looking at different options.
I got it. Just let me push back a little bit here. And this will sound like a joke, but I'm not joking. I'm just, and you and I have talked, and my memory's a tiny bit fuzzy, but your faith walk started really young, and your dad discipled you through your faith walk as a child and now on into manhood. I'm accurate there?
Correct.
Correct?
Yes,
My
I
memory is
got
correct.
saved when I was
Yeah.
9. I went to a Christian high school. Now, I wandered and had some moments that weren't exactly
Yeah.
the best moments, but yes.
But you had a dad that was walking
Correct.
you through your faith walk. Accurate.
Yes.
Got you. And so I think sometimes when you're on a legitimate faith walk, discipled by your dad as a child, I think it creates some naivety that you've been in the walk for so long that it's hard to relate to the half-steppers and the backsliders in a real way. And so here, this will sound like a joke, but I'm being dead serious. Because Lane Kiffin, the way he's been open about this, drank and chased tail, he was kind of an out of the closet, no relationship with God, blah, blah, blah. And so when you're early into a naive walk in faith, you start thinking like, hey, these half measures I'm taking, you're really just a lukewarm Christian. I used to be a lukewarm Christian. And so you said, look, he prayed about it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to tell you the kind of prayers that lukewarm Christians do, because I used to be a real hardcore lukewarm Christian. There was a waitress at Diamond Joe's strip club in Kansas City, Joe Mendocino. We can call him. He was the owner of Diamond Joe's. He loved Joe Mendocino. Was one of my best friends, an older guy, older Italian guy. They had a waitress there. I shouldn't say her name. Michelle. I'm not going to say her last name. I used to pray, and I'm talking about I legit pray. I just got to get with Michelle. And I prayed about it. And I did everything in my power. She was just a waitress. She did strip for maybe 3-4 months. But I used to and think I was being Christian, praying, if I could just get Michelle. That's all. And so I'm just him praying, pretty meaningless. It's because those of us that come into the faith or a legitimate faith walk late, we don't know what we're doing. And that's what I see with Lane Kiffin. He's well-intentioned. He's walking it the best that he can as far as he knows, but he needs some correction here. And I'm just, the path is very narrow, and there are things you have to sacrifice if you're legitimately trying to walk with Christ. And that's all the pushback I would give Lane is that, hey, man, I know you called Nick Saban, and I know you called all these other super rich guys that have been in your position. You should have called someone that's legitimate, and not that Nick Saban isn't, but you should have called some faith expert, and they would have said, hey, man, they're going to pay you $10, $12 million a year. You've built a team that can win a national championship. Yes, it would be easier at LSU, but that's not our path to do what's easy. And so I just think that I don't think you fully understand how corrupt lukewarm Christians are. And having been a lukewarm Christian, I can vouch we're very corrupt.
I would disagree respectfully. I still think he could make a decision to switch schools. Now, if he would have went to Florida, then I would have said he's burning in hell. Like, if he would have gone to the Gators, then that would have been the biggest mistake of his life. Then that's the equivalent of the worst thing you could do as a Christian. So I'll let that one slide. But
Are you really unmoved by my argument? You're unmoved by my argument.
Because I think we're talking about a coach going from a school to a school. Like, how do you know he might not? He said he's impacted enough people at Ole Miss, and now he wants to impact people at LSU. And I think this job is going to be harder than Ole Miss. I don't think it's easier. I think it's harder because of the expectations.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Look, I'll root for Lane and hope he does have a positive. But he just got to be, there's nothing. Look, all he had to do was, hey, I'm taking this job. I'm moving on. I get it. Not a great look for me. I apologize to the kids, but this is what's best for me. Instead of, we got, hey, look, this is unfair to the kids. I should be allowed to coach. I should be allowed to continue to work at Coke, until a month from now when I go work for Pepsi. That's just a ridiculous, narcissistic request.
Fair. Yeah, I think he could have handled it differently. And maybe he does. Maybe he says, I'm not even going to listen to anybody until our season's done. And he still could have left. That might have been the best solution.
All right. Last thing, and I'm going to let you go, if you can grant me 2-3 more minutes. I do want your take on what we saw from Shedeur Sanders this past weekend. I felt like on field, I thought I saw some progress. I think off field, I saw the same guy. He is not a leader, period, end of story. Just your thoughts on Shedeur.
Yeah, I think the last time we talked was before his first start at the Raiders. He said, what do you think is going to happen? And I said, I think we're going to see a lot of highs and a lot of lows. And he's going to give you some highlight plays, but he's also going to hold on to the ball too long, and he's going to make some mistakes, just like a lot of rookies would. But I do think he's playing like solid. You know, I think he's playing well enough to continue playing. But I would agree with you. I still think Shedeur's biggest issue is going to be the way he carries himself with the media and how he's perceived by the teammates in the locker room, most importantly, because at some point they're going to look at him and they don't care where he's drafted. They're like, you're still a rookie and you're talking of like you're a 10-year vet. That will rub some of his own teammates wrong. So from that perspective, I agree with you. I think he's got to show some humility, and not just the kind of fake humility, but actually true humility of I've got to go out there and earn this and play well for an extended period of time before I'm given an opportunity to be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. I don't think we get that. I think the NFL is going to humble him at some point. The NFL will humble you. It doesn't matter how. It's humbled everybody. You know, it happens at some point. And the thing that I look at, I'm like, man, I do think it's impacted the way he's perceived, and I do think it could impact his opportunities down the road. You know, whether it's in Cleveland or somewhere else, unless he's a Pro Bowler, like from the get-go, from the jump, I don't see that happening, though. So I think he's making life harder on himself, and he could potentially eliminate opportunity if he doesn't show a little bit more humility.
Danny, I'm sorry for being late. Great job as always. We'll see you next week. Salute. Think about my Diamond
well, I'm
Drill
gonna pray
story.
on it. I'm gonna give it some thought.
Yeah, pray on it. You'll see the wisdom. You'll see the wisdom on that. Hey, I hope that you all enjoyed today's show. I thought it was fantastic. I'm going to be on the Harmony channel in, let's say, 8 minutes at 11:15, 11:16ish with Shamika, Virgil, and Delano. We'll talk about the latest Candace Owens controversy. That's it, and that's all for us today here at Fearless. I'll be on the Harmony channel at 11:16. See you tomorrow.